So really welcome everyone to join our Entrepreneur X very first event. So I think we are now just waiting a bit. I think we have around 22 people in the room. So I think we will wait a bit more for other participants to join because I think in total we should have around 70 in total. So maybe we have another 5 to 10 minutes just to wait for the other team to come. And in the meantime, actually, I do want to, as you can see from the share screens, we are actually have the linking group, and we also have another event coming up by. So in the meantime, I will do the introduction later on when the people have come. But if you like to check out what's news, like what is about us and what's coming event, you guys are free to just have a look at that first.
Hi, everyone. In the meantime, as we're waiting for a few people, I'd love to just understand who's in the audience today. So in the chat, I would request whoever's around, maybe a quick intro. Who are you? What you're hoping to get out of this session, what you're hoping to learn from the Entrepreneur X community. Please don't feel afraid to say hi. And it also allows us to understand better who's in the room and what everyone wants to get out of today's session.
Anyone? Okay, otherwise I'm just going to thank you guys for being here, and for the person who answered the survey, I would like to thank you both. Well, I would like to thank you because it's important for us to know you and to know our audience and to know your challenge you are facing, just so we can answer this challenge during the groups, because at the end of the day, this event is just to bring all and to create a huge community of entrepreneurs and persons who are passionate about entrepreneurship. So thank you for the person who answered the survey. For the others, I'm sure you will have some questions you would like to share during this event. So just like, don't be shy and ask us all the questions that you have in mind, and we'll be really
We have
pleased.
someone who said hello. Byron.
Hello.
Hi, thank you. Byron, can you tell us about yourself? Who are you? What are you hoping to get out of the Entrepreneur X event tonight?
Oh yes, I just joined. Hopefully, I can learn some technology from you guys to help me to do the startup market and the marketing event through the whether some technology can use through the digital marketing and help me to promote my business.
Fantastic. What sort of business do you run?
Oh, I'm running on the consultancy basis business. Yeah.
Fantastic. Adrian, I'm glad that you've also said hi. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself as we're just getting started?
Hello everyone.
Hello.
So I'm like a graduate from Accelerate 2 cohort ago, probably. So me and my friend is trying to start a e-commerce company. So we are building some kind of technical stuff, but we want to understand more about the business side. So hopefully we can learn something from you guys tonight. Thank you.
Great.
I hope you're doing well, Adrian. Good to see familiar faces.
Yeah.
And last one,
Tiffany.
Tiffany, can you tell us about yourself? And then I think we'll be ready to get.
Hello. Hello, I'm a year 1 student from IBBA, and I want to know more about I want to gain more insights of some entrepreneurship. Even though I haven't thought of being an entrepreneur or start my own startup, but I want to gain more insights and I want to know more about digital marketing also, because I'm very passionate into the marketing world. So I want to gain more insights from you guys. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thank you
I
very
think
much for
it's past 7:35, so let's get this show started.
No problem. So thank you everyone to joining us today. So I just have a very quick kind of introduction of who we are Entrepreneurs and what we do here. So basically, sorry, my name is Tony, and I actually used to be trying to kick out my business, but it's really like I was a fresh graduate, and it's really frustrating because I have no ideas about technology. I have a great idea. I want to build an app, but the problem is, I don't have the right people. I don't know where to find the right people. It's even sometimes really difficult for me. There are so many groups outside, right? You have a lot of co-working space, those kind of group, but it's really difficult for me, kind of like an outsider, to join them. And I do feel like the same as what you feel like, Tiffany. So I was the student here, and I don't really have that connections and don't have that resources. And that's why we're here. Entrepreneur X, we come with a very simple idea to bring your ideas come true, to really make a genuine network for helping each other. You don't have any technical background. Awesome. You come here, you come with just a very brief idea or even just a passion to create something on your own. And we're here to work as a community, as a really true partners to really help you in the forms of maybe this kind of webinar, fireside chat, or kind of a workshop to really equip you and connect you guys with the right people and with the right knowledge to really kickstart your business. And this is exactly what we do here, and we hope that to get experience to every one of you. And I think coming up next, so I think I have to introduce our very two honorable guests. The first one is actually Tom. Tom is actually Tom Corbin is a very entrepreneur, is a great entrepreneur of Alex Software. And I think I will let him to introduce more about what is Alex Software and what he's doing in the mind. And also we have another very great guest here, Kevin. Kevin is actually the founding member of Flexlane, a very exciting startup about in Hong Kong of e-commerce. So maybe I can let maybe Tom to just introduce you and your company first.
Hi everyone, can you all hear me? Seems so. Yep. Hi, my name's Thomas Corbin. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, before I started this company, and before I joined Accelerate for one of their courses, I had a background in architecture. I studied architecture and I worked in architecture for many, many years, but I was always lacking a certain passion in my work. And it wasn't something that really fulfilled me on a daily basis. And I knew that I wanted to try and use technology to try and improve the world somehow, but I lacked the experience. I didn't have any coding knowledge. So I just couldn't physically do something with my vision. And basically in my spare time, I taught myself coding, so the fundamentals. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I basically took the plunge and I quit my job and I signed up for Accelerate's software engineering course. And that's basically been the last 5 months of my life. And coming to the end of that course for my capstone project, I partnered up with one of my course mates, my partner Chris Alicia, and we decided to start a software engineering, a web house, development house, based on our capstone idea. We'd have a primary idea, which is our product Right Hand. And from that, as I'm sure any entrepreneur knows, the company rapidly changed and evolved, and it's taken us to where RH Software is today. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with everyone.
Thank you so much, Tom. Kevin, can I ask you to introduce a bit more about yourself and your company? Hi, Kevin, I think you're mute.
I think you're on mute, Kevin.
How is it now? Can everyone hear me?
Perfect.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, a bit of a background about myself. I graduated in UK and I studied accounting and finance and came back to Hong Kong to do investment banking. Did that for around 2 years before I joined Accelerate and took their full-time coding class. After which I've actually started a web dev agency just like Tom. We've endured for around 8 months and worked on different projects for different clients. And afterwards, I jumped into an accelerator fund called Zeroff.ai, where I invested in startups from around the world in the AI space. in seed stage and pre-seed stage. So got a bunch of exciting investments in autonomous drones, autonomous vehicles, agriculture, and fintech. And then it wasn't too long after that I started another company, which is basically physical marketing company. So if you're a company like Carlsberg or Hypebeast who wants to do marketing and connect to your customers at a more deeper level, a more physical level, we provide you with merchandise that would help you do marketing. So for example, like Hypebeast would order stickers or different types of factory products from us, and I will line up a bunch of factories to provide those goods for them. And not long after, I started another company called Flexlane, which is my existing company right now. What we're doing is we're building a B2B marketplace to connect brands from around the world with retailers who are looking for more exciting and unique goods to sell in their store. And we would provide that service. And on top of a marketplace, we're providing basically a risk-free aspect of it, allowing retailers to buy products from us without any risk. We provide payment terms. So we're in a way a fintech company, and we recommend the top products to them based on their location, based on what type of taste profile, and based on their behavioral data on the website. So that's about me.
Thank you, Kevin. That's a very clear and detailed explanation of what you're doing and what's your company. So I think right now we can get into the core of this meeting. So both Tom and Kevin, you two have been through from a non-technical background and then get through some kind of technical training. And now, right now, even Tom, I know you are the CTO of X Software. So tell me a bit more about like the struggles, or we have a lot of people here. We don't have any technical background, so we have an idea just like yours, right? How can we get started, and what's actually really needed, like for us to drive through these non-technical barriers?
It really, I mean, fundamentally, you need to have passion and drive for your application. No one needs to know how to code the entire your entire project yourself. In fact, even if you were an amazing programmer, you probably still wouldn't do much of the heavy work yourself. Be so engaged dealing with the business side. So when you have an idea, you don't need to be able to build that whole idea by yourself. But it is important to try and build up some technical knowledge, so you know the fundamentals of how it might be built, so that you can talk to other tech people in the future if you try to employ them. Very often some great entrepreneurs have great ideas, and they don't have any tech knowledge, but they employ the right people, and they know that the people they employ can build that. What I recommend for everyone, though, is to, if you're passionate about your idea, spend some time researching what are some of the key technologies that are required to make this idea work, and start researching them. Start doing courses on them if you can. Accelerate has plenty of amazing courses. There's plenty of content on YouTube. Start giving up some of your evenings, some of your weekends to really trying to push your knowledge and understanding of this idea to the next level, because that's really going to be what makes the difference in actually making it a reality.
If you understand Charlie's probably play this recording.
I think great. Thank you very much, Tom. Kevin, do you have any other suggestions that you would give to Tom has talked about, like really do the research about the topics and the technology that should be involved in your ideas. So Kevin, is that the same journey that you also had that you share with Tom?
So not a lot of people share the same journey as Tom. No one comes out of it's very difficult to come out of a 4-month boot camp and then suddenly able to take on a role like a CTO level role and be able to build everything yourself. So it takes a lot of practice and a lot of years of experience to be able to execute that idea and have a strong enough foundation in technology to build up your idea at scale, right? So for a non-technical co-founder, I think the best recommendation I have for you is to find a technical co-founder who can help you build your product. But for you to attract good engineering talent, you need to know what you're talking about. So like Tom said, know the basics, be really strong in business, and yeah, focus on, know what a good technical co-founder is.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up on that, I mean, you'll find that a lot of people that are very tech savvy, they actually lack the soft skills and the personal skills to really make a business function. And if you can offer them that, exactly as Kevin said, then you are one half of the fundamentals that are required to actually build a business. Because you can have a great idea and not be able to implement it, or you can be great at implementing stuff but not be able to have a great idea. So finding someone else that works well with you is also crucial. I mean, I've done the exact same in my own company. Me and my partner, Chris, he handles more of the business administration and the public side of it, and I tend to focus on the technical and the software elements.
Right. I would like to follow up a bit more on the hiring or finding the right people part, because I believe this is also one of the questions from the floor. So the participant really, I mean, it's also me myself also would like to know. So if we have no technical background, right? Of course, we can do kind of a research on these areas, but how could I assess the right partner? So maybe I've seen maybe 3 or 4 people who said that, oh, they're interested in the startup. They would really love to partner with me. So how could I decide which one is actually the best for me? Should I judging it based on the skill set, or based on the personalities, or how you guys like judge or assess the other partner, the CTO that you are bringing in?
Well, finding a technical co-founder is like you're marrying him for the entire duration of your startup. So it's a pretty important decision. And first thing you look at is not whether or not he has the skills to do so, but whether or not you two can communicate and work together well. But outside of that, if you want to assess the skill level of a technical co-founder, I suggest, from someone who has not a lot of technical background, hire someone to interview this person. Hire a startup guy, a CTO of a startup, hire a CTO of, or a senior dev of a bigger company to interview this person. Let them do the work for you.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of if you're going to be getting into bed with a co-founder, number one, you need to know, do you actually get along with this person? Because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them, especially if the whole thing takes off. And number two, do you really need each other? So, for example, you might really, really need his technical skills, but does he really need you as the business partner element? Because if he doesn't, it's very easy for him to then walk away later on. You need to be contributing equal amounts to the partnership. And exactly as Kevin said, if you don't have any sort of technical experience, either hire someone, or try and find, if you know any sort of friend or friends of friends that are good technically, you can call in a favor and ask them to try and interview this guy.
Right. I think this is very useful advice, but I think it's also come to another questions. I believe Keynes has also mentioned in the floor. So where can we find that people? Or I think another question from my side is actually, should we find our friends as the CTO or co-founders, or should we find it on other sources? I mean, like it really easy, I believe, in the process of building a startup to kind of ruin the friendship. So I believe that we have to, it's like Kevin, you're so right. It's kind of like marrying him, right? In the whole startup process. But what is the right person that I should go for, or what channels should I really go for those kind of CTO partners?
I think exactly as Kevin said, I think it's not so much a marriage, more of a relationship. Do you want to go into a relationship with one of your friends? It's not always the right move to do, because you can end up with an absolutely ruined friendship. I probably wouldn't recommend it myself. So I would look into other avenues for finding a business partner. Try to attend conferences and try and do some networking, like in this event. If you see anyone that's quite bright or quite or has sort of the skills that you require, you know, just call them up, ask them to go out for a drink or meet up for a coffee, and then chatting with them, ask them, you know, explain your idea, ask them if they know someone that's more appropriate. You know, people are always willing to help out around. You just have to have you just have to go for it and actually put yourself out there.
Yeah, using the same analogy of marrying someone, sign a prenup before you marry him. So make sure you don't give equity right away. Make sure you have, you know, a 1-year cliff and then, you know, a 3-year vesting period and stuff, you know, in your contract baked in. But in terms of finding someone, make sure, I think recommendations always are the best. So first thing I would do is reach out to my friends and family or my business partners in the past to recommend CTOs or potential technical leads in bigger companies. Second of all, like hiring from LinkedIn has been very useful. So looking at, you know, technical leads from big companies, inviting them to your office for a quick chat and start baiting them to join your mission is always good. Yep.
So following up on that, Kevin, I like your ideas, like you know, really finding the people from different network. And actually, I want to specialize talking about in LinkedIn. I actually had experience before finding kind of potential investor through LinkedIn. So basically, it's just very cold, kind of a cold call and cold mail, and then to find them. Would that be the same case with CTO? And especially, I think, you know, if we are talking to someone who is really out of our network, and if we are, you know, just happened at the time that we don't really have the right person, maybe we don't have the, you know, the people that we know that has knowledge in technology with us to join that conversation with that potential CTO, what advice or what kind of tension that we should have, you know, when we are meeting those kind of new people?
Well, I think going on LinkedIn is absolutely the best way to find new people to join your company. Like if you reach out to your friends and family, you maximum will be able to find 5 candidates who fit the profile. But if you reach out to LinkedIn, you can easily set up 100 meetings in the next 2 weeks, for example, and you have a larger pool of candidates to choose from. And that's always, that always helps you make the better choice. And in terms of like, what type of person you're looking for on LinkedIn, you really need to look for, you know, okay, first you ask yourself, for example, I'm building a marketplace business. So logically, I should look for a technical co-founder who has worked in a marketplace or e-commerce space before. So look for technical leads in Zalora. I'll go to like eBay, or Amazon, Alibaba, Taobao, find the top engineers there, tell them to come, yeah, instead of just shooting out in the dark.
Right, so it's really about finding the right people and finding sending enough invitation to that areas to find the people to join, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the problem always is I think LinkedIn's a great tool for finding new members of your business. I don't know. I haven't personally used it to find any co-founders, but I can imagine exactly as Kevin said, you would really have to target people that have the requisite skills for your idea. So, I mean, earlier we talked about you have to get along with this person. You can't really tell what a person's personality is on LinkedIn, so it's a bit of a shot in the dark. All you can do is research who has the relevant skills and try and set up meetings and interviews with them. But like I said, I've never done it personally, so I couldn't tell you how well it would go.
No problem. I think there will be that's this kind of 2 approaches. I think Kevin has more experience in finding the people in the broader network, and Tom, you have some more experience of working closely with the person that you have already met, and you know how to bring them in the team. But I think these 2 methods, I think it really depends on individuals. Like if you already have someone like my experience, okay, mine was not as successful as yours. But in my experience, I'm also luckily I got someone in my known network that we're really passionate about it. And then if we already have that person, it will be great. Then we don't need that kind of extra kind of finding. But if we don't have it right now, I believe maybe many of you guys would have the problem. Then we can reach out to network. Or I think this is also why we exist here, Entrepreneur X, and we're trying to really create that network for you guys. So if you guys have any new ideas, like, oh, Tony, I really want to make that new marketplaces for, I don't know, for maybe a gift or a different kind of a new market. I really need someone who wants, who have the ability to build that software or the app, the front end or back end for me. And I think this is a good network for you guys to connect and to really drive through your ideas. So I think next, I think we can go with the flow first, and then maybe around 5 to 10 minutes, we can go back to Q&A. And I believe that many of you guys have already submitted good questions. I would like to ask a bit more about more general kind of starting up business. So we talk about a lot about the technology you needed, the research you needed, and how to find the right partner and to get the right skills for these technical partners. So maybe the next step is actually how do you manage it? Like we talk about shares. Like do we really have to talk about it upfront, or when we are doing is there actually two questions, like how do we manage the team? And the second part, I believe, as a non-technical founders, you will be responsible for maybe the pitching, maybe the business proposal, maybe finding the investment. Any tips, Tom and Kevin, you guys have can give to our participant on how could we do that better and not to avoid the mistakes that maybe many have seen?
I might leave it to Kevin to sort of talk about things like pitching as sort of the non-technical founder. But in terms of managing a team, it's something you have to develop and curate throughout your experience. When you're trying to meet with people and do projects with people, that sort of shows already how you're able to sort of manage expectations and ensure that everyone works together quite well. Being the founder of a company, you are going to have a lot of people looking up to you, and they're not always going to be your friends because you're their boss, obviously. So trying to learn how to deal with that will be a fundamental part of you becoming an entrepreneur. And I can sort of give you advice from my own experience, but I think it is very, very different from everyone because everyone's had different jobs in their lives, and we've all had horrible bosses and we've all had good bosses. And I think the best piece of advice I can give to you is think about what made the bad bosses bad and the good bosses good, and try and apply that to yourself, and try and look critically at yourself and think, if I was an employee, how would I view myself as a boss, and try and improve that management of everyone.
So I kind of dropped off. My Wi-Fi connection wasn't that good, so I didn't hear the first question, but I heard about the second question, which is how do you manage your employees? Is that correct? Sorry. Can you summarize the?
Sorry. So I think the first question is actually how do you manage the team, and the second question is how do you do pitching? How do you prepare the kind of materials you have for investors?
Okay, so for the first question, I guess it's really important to be empathetic and know the very basics of what your teammates are working on. So, for example, if you hired an engineer, you should know the very basics about coding and have reasonable expectations for everyone. If you hired a digital marketer, then you should have the basics of digital marketing besides before you assign a task to her or him. So taking accelerates courses, the short courses on the part-time courses would really give you the basics, right? Like people like dissecting a team into technical or non-technical, but it's a lot more diverse than that. There's digital marketing, there's sales, and there's just a ton more on top of just technical and non-technical. And in terms of how I would structure my pitch and how I would pitch to investors, that's a very broad question. I'm sure you went in depth while I lost my connection there, but focus on the problem that you're trying to solve, right? And focus on why you're the right person and the right team to build this problem out.
Right. All right. So you mean like the structuring the way, the focus, really focus on the questions and why us, why now, and why these ideas, right?
Yeah. Why are you solving this problem? What's the story behind you tackling this problem? Like if investors see that there's basically zero transition, like you've been e-commerce for your whole life and suddenly you want to build a lifestyle business, it seems like more of a hobby and a spur of the thing moment. Whereas, like, for example, someone like me, I've built e-commerce businesses before and I've been in supply chain. There's a clear transition into what I'm building right now. And I have a lot more in-depth experience in this field compared to everyone else, which makes me, a better person suited to build this business out. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kevin. I think one big lesson I learned from my failed startup before is actually you really have to understand the market. So Kevin, you are the expert in the in e-commerce business, so you know what exactly is going on in that field. But if you're entering into a kind of a new field without enough understanding, I believe not only that there is very high chance for you to miss the opportunity or to make mistake, but it's also difficult for the other people, maybe an investor, to really invest in you because obviously you don't have that much of expertise and experience in that field. And so talking about
sorry, I'll just follow on for that from one point.
No,
yeah, exactly. As anyone that's sort of gone through Accelerate's course will know that changing careers is very, very difficult. So for example, I went from architecture to software engineering, and that's quite a big deviation. And one of the things RH Software does is try to take on Accelerate graduates to try and give them more experience in this field of technology, but you'll also find that leveraging your previous experience will help you greatly. So if you were previously in finance and then you moved into coding, you should try to do something in fintech, for example, because then you can combine both of your experiences together. If you go off in a completely different direction, as Kevin said, not even just in investing, but it's also hard from an employment perspective. To just start something absolutely new. It's better to sort of make a smoother transition via something you already know.
Right, awesome. So thank you so much, Tom and Kevin. So I think one kind of next step I would really want to ask you guys is, so would you have any tips for all these founders or startups to be here? Like, what are the key advice you would give them? Like, or what kind of common mistakes or important advice that you would give them to not to avoid, when you were kickstarting your business, when you were forming your team, or when you were drafting your very first proposal? So what are the key areas to avoid, and what's the best advice you can give to them?
Well, in terms of hiring, I guess no one makes the perfect hiring decision. But you need to at least have 2 free interviews before you hire someone. And you also need to learn how to fire quick. So if the person turns out to be a wrong fit in your company, give them a few weeks, give them 2 free weeks to prove themselves, prove you wrong. But if it doesn't work out, then make the quick decision to fire them. There's my first ever employee in this company. We've dragged on the contract for 3 months, knowing that she wasn't adding too much value to the team. But we appealed more to our emotional side instead of logical side, and it dragged on for 3 months. So make quick decisions, and also always be thinking on your feet. Like if you feel like you have a great idea on how to tackle this market or how to reach more customers, there's always a better way. So it's the CEO's job to keep on thinking nonstop and improving on your ideas.
And sort of following on from that, I would say when you're trying to start up your own business, come up with a very concrete plan and make sure you do what you're aiming to do every week, because there's a lot to do when you start off a business. But then on the contrary, you have to be flexible enough to throw out that plan and come up with a new plan, because things change very, very quickly. You might get a new piece of advice from someone. You might realize one area of business is much better and much more interesting to you, maybe more profitable. So you might need to start prioritizing that. You can't be so focused on one aspect that you just sort of ignore everything else, or you're focused on what the ideal version of your business was 3 weeks ago in your own head, and you haven't quite realized that there are other aspects you could play up. So for example, here we start at RH Software, we started off by developing our application Right Hand, and it became very, very clear after a few weeks that Right Hand needed a media element to it, because it's about connecting handymen and clients. So we started investing in more media equipment, and if we'd sort of left it there, it might not have come up with anything, but we've actually now invested quite heavily in our own media studio because we found that there's a great need for that, especially in our current location. And if we had just sort of stuck with our single product, we might never have made that investment. And that media studio then led to potential uses for that, for example, for Accelerate, but also in terms of bringing in other clients who now want web dev stuff. So it all does change very, very quickly, and you need to not only work hard to do what you need to get done, but also be flexible enough to change.
Right, so it's always about iterations, right? You have your ideas, and then we tried it. If it doesn't work, or if we can see any improvement, then we would go for that model, and we keep iterating it. And I believe that that's how we got driving forward with startup. So it's never a perfect plan, and I believe this also apply like in terms of the learning. So just get a little bit back to our core topic: is tech for non-tech founders, right? There are so many areas, I believe, founders need to be taken care of. As you have mentioned, so we need a software engineer. We need the basics of it, so we can talk to them. We can know that exactly what are they talking about, so they are not entirely, just fooling you around, right? But other than that, we talk about marketing. So right now, if we like Thomas just said, we need a media aspect area. So if you don't have the people in the team, the founders definitely need to do research on, what's actually happening, what other people are doing, how could we apply it in our business. So it's really about like keep learning and see the business need and do the iterations to keep going forward. So technical doesn't have to be, just software engineering and coding stuff, but like UX, UI design, the media you mentioned, digital marketing, maybe growth hacking, all these elements. I believe that as a founder, I mean, it's a very different mindset. Like in other career or when we're students, so we just learn that. In other jobs, right? We just learn those experience. Maybe we take the exams, we have the qualifications, and then we go for it. But I believe in a startup environment, it's more like, we do the assessment. We need that area. We need that specialized skills that we would need. So right now we will just do the research where we find the right person to do it. But it's actually a keep going process. So I believe that for every founders to be or entrepreneur who would like to bring your idea come true, you have to really open to learning and keep learning it forward. Right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think if anyone wants to become a founder or do their own startup, you'll very quickly realize that you need to have a very, very good work mentality. It's not sort of 9 to 5. It's every hour of every day, and you need to sort of get into that mindset. So when you're sort of producing your what I would personally call a minimum viable product, if you want it to get your business off the ground. We can go into more of that later, but you need to start giving up your evenings. You start giving up your weekends to try and work on this idea. Maybe, if you watch a lot of TV, maybe think about turning that off for 3 to 6 months and just, focusing headstrong on this idea, because when you become a founder, it's going to be like that, and you're going to need to be able to cope with that level of pressure.
There's just too much competition out there, too many ideas out there, too many what do you call those ghost startups. Those are hidden, that ready to launch, that you don't know of. Maybe you feel like you've untapped a hidden market, but maybe there are already competitors or bigger companies who are trying to take a pie off this industry. So the only way you can win is if you work smarter or if you work harder, quoting Mark Cuban. So my company, for example, everyone in my company works 12 hours a day, and we come every Sunday, and we take a Saturday off. So that's the only way you will win. You enter a startup.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Not to jump straight to Q&A, but I think this question is quite relevant. Is if you don't have the technical skills or market insight, you need to get that. You need to get obviously, like I said, you don't need all of the technical skills. You're probably not going to build your application or whatever you want to build yourself primarily, but you need to know enough about it that you know how it should be built. So if you don't have the technical skills, if you don't have the market insight, spend 3 to 9 months, depending on how big your idea is. Give up your evenings, give up your weekends. Start training yourself in those technical insights. You know, there's YouTube videos. There's free online courses you can take. You can take Accelerates courses. Spend the time researching your product, because if you don't, because that's what it's going to be like when it launches. It's not going to be you put in this effort at the beginning and then suddenly it's an easy life afterwards. It's a cutthroat industry. Everyone in a startup is sort of by definition are some of the hardest working people in the industry, and you need to match that. So if you don't have the skills and the market insight, you need to get it by sacrificing your free time and working towards it, because it is perfectly possible. In the age of the internet, there's a wealth of information out there on every different subject. If you want to become knowledgeable in anything, you can do so. You just need to put in the time and the energy.
Right. I believe that one quote I believe from Amazon is really good. Like, if you want to be working Amazon, and I believe also apply for the startup, you have to work smart and work hard. Also, you have to work a long hours. So you really have to, just like Tom and Kevin just said, you really have to do the research. You have to sacrifice your free time in really understanding the industry and the product that you are proposing for everyone. Because, for every startup, we come here for a purpose. We're here to bring the values. So it's not easy. If it's easy, someone's already done that. But because this is more meaningful, because it's impactful, that we make positive changes to society. And that's why I believe that keep every startup to drive forward. So I think that now is, we already have 45 minutes past. I think we can try to switch it to Q&A. But before that, Thomas and Kevin, do you have any things you want to add on? Right.
The only thing I'd really add is money. I think we've already sort of covered it, but money can't be your only motivation. It can be your prime motivation. I don't disbelieve that, but it can't be your only motivation, because if that's the only thing motivating you to get up and work on your company, then you're going to struggle, because your company is going to have lots of ups and downs, plenty of downs, as I'm sure Kevin can attest to. And you need to have the internal motivation to push through. And if you don't believe in what you're doing, you might struggle with that.
Right. Awesome. So I think we can now move on to the next Q&A. I think some of the questions are already answered. Like we have one Kay asking, is there any way we can locate the potential talent? So I believe that it either come from our own network, or you can actually do it really searching online, searching in the LinkedIn, do a proper interview with them. Don't make it just one time, really understand that person. But it's actually a very good way to find those partners. And also don't forget, Entrepreneur X could be your very good resources here. So we will be connecting you guys with all the technical people and non-technical people, so we can bring in new ideas. So I think coming up next for Brian, you mentioned that how can we use digital marketing to connect to the new potential customers? So basically, how do we get to the market? How do we get to the consumer in this latest trend?
So Yumi, can you tell me more about your startup, or what you're trying to, what kind of clients you're trying to attract and what product you're building?
I think Beyond, you can Beyond, right? I think you can try to explain it if you feel comfortable.
Make sure you're on mute before speaking.
Hi, yes, this is Byron.
Byron,
I'm the professional CPA. Currently, I start my consultancy companies for a few years. I'm currently have some customer, and at the moment, I would like to explore my new customer here. The main reason is in the currently there will be some current customer, they may selling their expenses, selling their company and going back to the own country, which means I will lose some of my current customer. So actually now I try to connect the people in the LinkedIn, or maybe I join those the conference meetings. But normally after I exchange my business card, and some of the customer did not coming back to me. Maybe currently they have already have the auditor and the accountant to serve them already. So can you tell me if I like the Kelvin, you mentioned it, to connect with the potential customer in LinkedIn, and then it will be how do you invite them to have an interview and a conference call?
Interview for there's your customers.
Yes, how do you connect the new customer and then invite them to have a conference call with them and introduce myself and telling them I can able to help them. For example, I would like to share some cases with you. In the recently I did it for my customer, and there's a current customer, they are doing the biotechnology business. I am helping them to explore the new branch and opening the new branches in Korea and China. And then now they have a new investor like to do buying out from his company. And then
okay, we don't need the details.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a consultancy business, you're B2B. I think the most effective way for marketing is personal branding, which Levine Kamlani, the CEO of Accelerate, can tell you more about.
Okay.
But other than that, for digital marketing, hosting webinars and looking for topics that your customers would be genuinely interested, and would be a good way in spending some marketing dollar on LinkedIn to target the right people in the specific industry. Ebooks would be a good way. Provide knowledge and tell them to give them your email to unlock more knowledge would be a good way for you to attract these potential users. But yeah, I mean, in terms of just general direction, that's all I have, but happy to discuss more with you afterwards if you can send me more details. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a very good idea. Yeah, because in the currently I'm not very strong and good in doing the things in the front line. That's why I'm still learning and at the moment. Yeah. Thank you for your advice. And how do you do and polish my personal branding?
I think we can go. I think we can go deeper with Kevin in the later sections, but I think maybe we don't have that much of time left. So I'm sorry, but I think I have to cut you here.
It's okay.
I think we have several more questions coming up, but before that, Tom, would you have anything to add on? I see you're trying to speak.
No. It was just more general advice for everyone in terms of marketing. That identify what the market is for your idea, and then I imagine a lot of people here are sort of people potentially looking to start a business and might not have loads of wealth to spend on marketing. There's plenty of free tools you can use. Try and identify who your market is. Even before you build your product. Like sort of on Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, you can try and identify people that might be interested in your product, and then go out and actually speak to them. That not only gives you some feedback, it also, puts your name out with them. And obviously it's a little bit small scale at this stage, but if you become more popular in Facebook groups, if people start talking, things can quickly grow.
Right. Thank you, Tom. I hope that could solve Brian, right? Some of your questions. And if you really want to have more in-depth conversations, really, I think it's really great. We are here actually, Entrepreneur X is actually here helping each other. So I think you can leave your content here, and then we can try to connect you with Kevin. And no problem. Thank you. I think coming up next is Edward. I think he's asked a very interesting question. I do share that questions as well. It's actually when we talk to those potential CTO or partners, how to avoid the fact that they may steal it. I mean, they may not be, that close to you, or even if they are close to you, even if they are your friends, sometimes some kind of ideas, they do not have that kind of high technical barriers, right? Especially when we are talking about a more large scale market. So how could we protect the ideas when we are talking to these potential CTO?
I mean, the obvious way is obviously don't give all your idea in one go. If you're going to be meeting with someone, schedule several meetings with them, and you sort of drip feed them information as and when. And it's up to on you to decide at which point, if you're that worried about them, you either have to take the plunge and hope that they don't steal your idea, or at some point you have to decide and ask them to sign an NDA, which gives you some level of protection if they do essentially go run off.
Yeah, I guess sign an NDA, sign a non-compete would be a very good start. But I just don't feel like it's that easy to just take an idea away and start building something that can compete toe-to-toe with you. Before you start this business, you probably did months of research and have a unique angle to how to, market your business and scale the business, run your sales operations, et cetera, et cetera. It's not an idea that can just be stolen just off the bat. And even if he steals your idea, you two would have completely different ways of operating it and running it. So make sure before you start your business, have a much more solid plan compared to there's just a lot more dynamics than just an idea, right? It's 90% execution. So I don't think an idea just can be stolen that easily.
Awesome. I do believe that as well. I've talked to a VC before, and he's told me ideas are important, but he would rather have a tier B idea, but with a tier A team, than a tier A idea, but the tier B team. It's all about execution. So protect your ideas, like Tom said. Don't give it all out, but at the same time, you really have to do your research and ensure that the execution is perfect, and that's something that they can never steal. Okay, we have a lot more questions to come, which is very awesome. I think the next one is from, sorry, just a moment. It's also from Kay. It's how do we narrow down the screening process? I believe that we have covered some of it. We really have to, find people in the startup areas, or find some in the big company if the senior engineer, and also do some research on that topics. But on top of that, Kevin and Tom, do you have any or add on to these areas?
Sorry, what's the question again?
How do you screen or narrow down the selection for the engineers or CTO? So I believe we have covered it.
Yeah, nothing more than what we've already said. Try and equip yourself with as much, do as much research into the field as you can, not just research, but also try and train yourself in those technical aspects to as much as you can, even if it's watching a 2-hour YouTube video to try and just learn what the terms and what people are talking about. And as we've already said, try and find either friends or hire someone who can screen them more effectively than you can.
Yeah, So I think the question more is like, if you want to build a successful startup, then you need to hire engineers. But if you want to build a startup that would last and would get funding, you need to find the best engineers for your company, right? Any less, then you don't have an A team, right? Like, I agree with what you said earlier. Having a B idea with an A team is more important than having it the other way around. So you must be, you have to equip yourself with enough skills. You need to be respectful in the industry. You need to know 10 times more compared to an average Joe in the industry before you can attract good talent who will believe in you.
Great, awesome. So again, we still need to do that kind of process on and off, but I believe that it's really about, like, it's never wrong on putting more resources on the team. We really, the teams after all is most important. So even if, as Tom said, even pay people to get these people on board, I think it will worth the team. It will worth a lot of effort than spending maybe 3 to 6 months with the wrong people, but get a bad result. So I think we're really closing to the end. I'm kind of afraid that we may not. All right, I think we have 2 questions left. So I think we may overrun it a little bit, but I think we will have a very quick answer to these 2 questions. I think the first one is actually then how to identify the right areas to learn, focus on the new technologies. So I think Sarah is mentioning that, it may be a new idea is a very broad idea. So how do you really focus on the key areas to learn it? I think that's the first question. I'm sorry, I think I have to combine the 2 questions. And so excuse me, and second is from Kathy. So should we, Kathy has mentioned, like, should we try those no-code solutions, or should we really find someone to help build a prototype? Like, which area would you propose or recommend people to have that MVP? So the first question is, how do we narrow down this kind of learning and to find the right areas? And the second question is, when we build MVP, should we go for those no-code solutions, or should we really find someone to build the prototype?
So yeah, for the first question, I guess once you've developed your idea, sketch it out on paper or use some design software and highlight the key features that you need to build, and learn about the technical, learn about the technicalities required to build those key features. For example, in a marketplace, the most important thing would be the recommendations, right? So just go on a few YouTube videos and look at how to build recommendations. Or if you want to really understand the backbone of what a marketplace, what a successful marketplace is built on in terms of technology stack, then just do your research on your competitors. Whereas your second question on whether or not you should use no-code solutions, it will be a good idea if you really want to quickly prove out your market and validate your idea. But in terms of fundraising, if you if you're a startup and you're looking for fundraising, then no one is going to invest in a startup with no code, because you can't, with no code you cannot prove that you can build a successful tech team and scale this product up to millions of users, for example.
Sure. Just to cover the first question, completely agree. Some ideas can be very broad, but you basically should look at some of your competitors. What technologies do they use? If you're not tech savvy enough to sort of pick that apart, again, try and find someone in Entrepreneur X to just try and look at, basically give them one of your competitors or some similar competitor and get them to break down what technologies they are. That way you don't have to give away your idea, but you also get some idea of how these things work. The second question, I think that sort of, it covers a point that I haven't really discussed too much, but yes, you could. So just to go into a little bit of a background on this, I think a lot of people here who might be starting business might not have much money. And if you don't have much money, what you need to do is you need to try and find yourself grants there are plenty available. There's the Cyberport Creative Micro Fund, there's the Innovation and Technology Fund that will fund your idea. And you can get this done through creating a MVP, a minimum viable product. And that's what I was talking about previously when I said, work your ass off for 3 to 9 months, potentially more, try and build out this minimum viable product. You could, if you were developing a mobile app, you could theoretically build it in something called Adobe XD, which doesn't require any coding. You could build a functional, a sort of a functional wireframe of your application to pitch to some of the lower level funding things that will give you the finances you need to really go out and build this application in code. Because exactly as Kevin said, you will struggle to get much investment if you don't have an actual codified product.
Right. Thank you so much, Tom and Kevin. I believe, I do really believe that we all talk about, it's all about execution. It's all about the team. So if you don't, we could use that product for, non-code one for a very quick demo, but I believe at the end of the day, they will be asking for a bit more tangible. So I believe that, really get that MVP or prototype is actually crucial to many teams if you really want to scale up the startup. Okay, I believe that this is about the questions that we have on the floor, and it's also really close to the end of this meeting. So before I close this meeting, so any last thought, Kevin and Tom?
Not really on my end.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to see all of you, quite a lot of you interested in going into startups. I would tell you it's not easy, but you will learn a lot through the journey. And congratulations for taking the first step by going on this meetup, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
Good luck.
If anyone, like I said, we're all part of the same community and we all want to see each other thrive. So, really use the most of this opportunity. Don't think of it as just one call. Look around, see who else is on the call, who can help you. Reach out. The more proactive you are, the better. We're all here to help each other at the end of the day, and good luck to everyone.
Right, and I believe that I already see some chemistry going here. I can see Michael and Kathy are actually talking about a kind of future partnership or working experience. I believe this is very awesome, and I believe this is actually what Entrepreneur X for. And at the end of this this event, I have to sorry, but I have to really promote it. Our linking group here, I just put it in the group chat. We will also send it out in the post-event email. So we really would like to invite you guys to our linking group, so we can have a very better connections and interactions on what your difficulties you were having, or what kind of help, or what kinds of resources you would like looking forward, or ideas you would like to share. I think it will be a great platform for you guys to get in that linking group, and we will be also promoting our next event there. So actually, we already have our next event. It's called how to becoming an entrepreneur. Okay, today we talk about a lot about the tech for non-technical founders, but for the next steps, I think the next webinars, we will still have Thomas as our host, but we will have very honorably invite Simon Squad, another very successful angel investors and entrepreneur, to talk about the really kind of mindset or kind of preparation for yourself to be really get into the startup field. So don't forget, I think joining the linking group can really keep you guys up to date with what we are going to do next and having the connection with everyone. And I think that's really it for today. And later on, we will send out a survey, a very short survey about what you like, what you don't like. And we also send out the link for the group and also our next event. So really thank you guys for joining us today. And I really hope that you can learn something here, and we can all contribute to a very genuine community in startup.